Dancing for Diabetes has evolved into much more than just a dance show. It has become a year-round nonprofit operating programs and services and outreach for kids, teens, and adults, not just here in Central Florida, but across this country and globally. Over the last 21 years, we've created this community that continues to give back and continues to reach out and has been a pretty steady rock for those that need it. And it's one of the areas I'm most proud of. Really, anyone that's touched by type 1 has a resource, has a place to come to for the information they need so that they can ensure the one they love with type 1 can thrive with type 1. When I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, I didn't know anyone that had type 1. There was no one around me, there was no community. And over the first several years after being diagnosed, I started, without realizing it, creating this community. And over the last many years, intentionally continued to add to that community and go out and reach people and try to impact people as much as we can through these different programs that we've been creating. Our year-round programming includes our annual conference, our awareness campaign, Bowl for a Cause, the fall dance program, the D-Box, Type 1 at School, outreach events, and Dancing for Diabetes, the show. I've been so fortunate to meet so many different people from across the country that have a connection to type 1 diabetes. And through these people, we're able to continue our mission, not just in our community, but in their communities as well.
But no, they only block the sun. They rain and snow on everyone. So
I'm a 16-year-old singer-songwriter. I have been doing music since I was a little kid. It's been a passion of mine since I can remember, and I'm here to just spread the joy of music and make art. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when I was 4 years old, and I was extremely thirsty. I was showing all the classic signs of type 1 diabetes. It was really my mom. She saw me just down in a whole water bottle at this pool party, and so she decided to take me in. The tests came back and the doctors called my mom up and said, you need to pack your bags. You're going to be in the hospital for 3 days. Your daughter has type 1 diabetes. And that moment really changed not only my life, but my entire family's life. But I was really aware of what was happening around me, and it was definitely very scary. And I think the moment that it sunk in that I have a chronic condition that will always be with me until there is a cure was when my mom told me that I'd have to take insulin and inject myself. I said, Mom, well, when will it end? When will I stop? And she said, there is no end. So Elizabeth reached out to me on social media after seeing an article that I was in and also watching all of my YouTube videos of me singing songs. And she was throwing her first ever Touched by Type 1 conference in Orlando, Florida. And she invited me to come speak and also perform a few songs. So I got to speak to the kids and the teens at the Touched by Type 1 conference, and it was so exciting and super fun because I got to see all these little kids and play them songs, and they loved it and they were dancing around. And we shared stories. I heard about, you know, things that were going on in their life and how they're managing type 1 and what they do to get through the hard times, and I was also giving them some of my tips. And so it was kind of this whole little get together and powwow of all these warriors. I left that conference, the Touched by Type 1 conference, feeling so strong because I saw so many other strong people who are going through the same battles and sharing experiences that I've also been through, and being able to tell my story and share my passion with my music to everyone was just so cool. Touched by Type 1 has definitely introduced me to a specific community of young people. There's a common theme around every person I've met in this community is everyone has not let type 1 diabetes get in the way of living day-to-day life and following their dreams. And so I'm just so happy to be a part of it and have had a relationship with Touched by Type 1 for so many years. I always love to be a part of everything that's going on at Touched by Type 1.
Most of my professional career has been in the theater. I performed with The Lion King. I performed in both the traveling production and the Broadway production. I was actually traveling when I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. I was initially told that I had steroid-induced diabetes, type 2 diabetes. I was put onto metformin for 3 weeks and was not getting any better. I continued to lose weight. I lost like almost 40 pounds by the time I was hospitalized. Then I was diagnosed properly with type 1 diabetes and put on an insulin regimen, and that's when my journey with type 1 diabetes began. I definitely found the type 1 diabetes community later, and Touched by Type 1 was definitely one of the amazing discoveries, life-changing discoveries for me during that time. It was at that point that I reached out to Elizabeth, and she sent a D-Box to me. I was just so amazed at its content. The D-Box contains information about resources available, about foundations that are doing work in this space, about the technology that is available for management. So all of that information is included within the D-Box. I founded Kyla Cares after visiting Children's Hospital in New Orleans. The endocrinology team at Children's just shared with me like a lot of the struggles that their kids were having, and that they weren't having great health outcomes, and that they were dealing with all of these horrible side effects that stem from poor glucose control. And they were really specific with like kids of color, and they kept hammering that message home to me. I left there I couldn't get these kids out of my mind, and the fact that so many of them, especially kids that look like me, were just struggling and having these horrible outcomes. So that is what led me to establish Kyla Cares in partnership with Children's Hospital in New Orleans. We work with a number of healthcare providers and organizations in Louisiana. So we are working with Ochsner and Children's to get D-Boxes into these clinics and into their hospital. It's really important that they have access to the latest information, and the D-Box is a great way to get that information to them that they may not be getting from the healthcare providers. Touched by Type 1 is doing a great job at compiling the information that people need when newly diagnosed, all of the information that they would need to access or tap into over the course of one's life living with this disease. I definitely think having all of this information in one place helps to connect everybody, along with the other programs that they have in place. All of these things sort of work together to create a space where people living with this disease can connect and explore and have a little fun at the same time, because we all have lives that we want to enjoy. So it's great that they're offering these programs and that they have these things in place that are a real aid to people living with this disease. I love them. They definitely have a special place in my heart.
Throughout our community, there are so many individuals thriving despite type 1 diabetes. Ava, Kyle, and so many others out there are living their dreams, and they're not letting type 1 diabetes stop them or pull them back in any way. Hearing and seeing those stories is so important for kids and teens with type 1 diabetes to stay positive and look ahead to the future, set their goals and meet them, and know that type 1 diabetes is not going to stop them from anything they want to pursue in life. So until a cure is found, we're going to continue to grow our community. We're going to continue to connect with people like Kyle and Ava. We're going to continue to distribute D-Boxes to everyone that needs it. We're going to continue to educate the educators, and we're going to continue dancing for diabetes.